would like to nominate him for the reason that he's a motivator. My friend Majed that I mentioned before, why him? Besides he's a cool guy. He should be like considered a beginner, but he's not. And that's what makes him special.
So I'm so happy to and I have a big pleasure to welcome Majed. Majed, tell us something more about yourself. Tell me something more. What are your hobbies different than spearfishing? And tell me something more about your life in Dubai. And then we go to spearfishing.
At the moment, my name is Majed. I'm 29 years old. And at the current moment, I don't have any other interests besides spearfishing. Before I started spearfishing, I used to go do a lot of line fishing, trolling, mostly in the water activities. So I've been in the water since I was 7 years old. And weekend to weekend, we'd go fishing, diving, scuba diving, fishing, diving, snorkeling, trolling, camping on nearby islands. So I'm very comfortable being in the water. And it's not a strange place for me to be in, which is why I think it made it quite easy for me to transition into spearfishing.
So Majed, myself, I started spearfishing because I saw some nice Instagram posts of Sheikh Hamdan Fazza, and he really inspired me actually to do it somehow. So I'm curious, tell us more, how did you start spearfishing? When did you do it? And do you have any funny or nice story around, getting into that as a sport?
I started spearfishing, I would say the first time I held a spear gun, I was maybe 9 years old. But that was mostly, while snorkeling around the reef, around the edges. It was a very old, it's a maybe 85 centimeter freediver trident head spear gun. And we caught, very, very small fish. So I wouldn't really call that spearfishing. When I actually did start spearfishing, and it was a complete coincidence, no one told me about it. I didn't even know it was a sport until a year and 3 months ago. So I realized that one of my fins, which I was using, scuba diving fins, the strap was broken. So I went to the closest diving shop I thought on Google, and it was the freediver in Al Quoz, near the Al Quoz area. I went inside and I realized that he asked me the question. He said, "So, how many meters do you dive? 10, 15?" I said, "What are you, crazy? I dive 2 meters, maybe 3 meters. Who can dive 10, 15 meters?" He said, "No, you can easily dive 10, 15 meters. There's a way and there's a process." And he sat down in the store and he told me about it, and I thought, it seems quite difficult. But I took all the gear, and without any training, without any knowledge, I went to try it. And the first time I reached 7 meters by myself, I was quite pleased. And I thought to myself, wow, that was 7. People are diving 20 and 25, like it's quite easy. And progressively from there, I got better and better exponentially. I think my first calculated dive was 7 meters at 35 seconds maybe. And in 6 months, I went to 24 meters in 2 minutes bottom time. So it was quite a fast growth, and I don't think people should grow that fast. But my history of being around the water and being comfortable with everything in the water let me dive and progress quite fast.
So what about any funny story aside from the trident? Do you remember anything, or do you have any friends that they started with you as well, more or less in the same time?
One of the first times I ever went on a spearfishing boat expedition, which to me it wasn't really spearfishing. I was mostly snorkeling at 5, 7 meters. I wouldn't call that freediving or spearfishing. Is we were on our way to an island, and I had a friend of mine, Robert. I think you guys must have seen him. We anchored by a wreck, and we started line fishing. It was about 24 meters of depth. And he was quite eager to be in the water, so he asked us the question, and he said, "Can I dive here?" And to me, no one can dive 24 meters, right? In my head, a guy can dive 10 meters, 15 meters. No one can dive 24 meters. I've scuba dived that wreck, and it's quite deep for even scuba diving. And I told him, "Yeah, sure, you can go right here," thinking he's gonna go, he's gonna fail, he's gonna come back up. So he went down the first time, and he came back up what felt like 2 minutes later, and he said, "Yeah, I saw some big barracudas, 10 to 15 kgs." I said, "Yeah, of course he's talking. He didn't get the barracuda. Where's the barracuda?" So my father told him, "You know what? Go shoot one." So he goes down, and 2 minutes before that, my brother had caught a 7 kg barracuda, 8 kg barracuda, and Robert comes up, and he has a 12, 13 kg barracuda in his hand. So I said, I know barracudas. I said, barracudas, they stay on the surface. He might not have gone down 24 meters. So I thought we told him, you know what? Why don't you try under the wreck? We know that there's a fish over there, similar to a grouper, hamur. We told him it's a big enough size. It's not to shoot. So go ahead, bring that. And the next dive he goes, he brings a hamur. And we said, okay, maybe this guy's the real deal. So next time you go, there's a school of trevally, and among the school of trevally, there's 1 or 2 striped trevally. Shoot those and bring it back. And he goes and he shoots them and bring it back. And that's the day I realized that, if I become good at the sport, I can choose exactly what I eat. I don't have to randomly catch small fish or fish I don't want and harm the environment. I can go down, select what I want, and come back up. And that's how it piqued my interest in the sport, and I started practicing every day into it.
So, Majed, by the nationality, you are the Emirati, and you're a true Emirati because you're pretty much connected to the sea and water, which is great. And you just mentioned a while ago that your family is somehow connected as well to the sea. So, if you can give us some, overlook about Emirates, United Arab Emirates, water. All of us know about pearl diving, but is it somehow connected, or maybe there are some roots into the spearfishing, which is currently you can see, or maybe some of your Emirati friends, they do something that they've been doing since long time. Tell us something more about this.
The UAE has a long history of pearl diving. I'm 29 years old, so unfortunately I've not experienced that era of the UAE. My father, his father's father, and his father's father, they were always big into fishing, diving, and trading in the waters here in the UAE. I would say that my biggest the reason that drew me to the water most in my life was my father. So we started fishing, diving, and scuba diving since I was 7, and that obviously he was influenced from his father, and he was influenced from his father. So ultimately, we are much more comfortable in the water than anyone normally is. To give an example, we don't even know what it is to be afraid of the water. I once took a friend to just to snorkel amongst the rocks, similar to these rocks behind us, and just for him to put his fins on and put his head in the water, it took me an hour and a half to convince him to do that. And to us, it comes almost as second nature, which is why we're here today, and we want to share the wealth of knowledge that we've accumulated, and hopefully allow other people to enjoy this beautiful sport that we love.
Majed, I have a very good intel on you, but it's not dangerous, don't worry. I was told by somebody who is actually flattering you a lot that you progress a lot, and actually you mentioned this just at the beginning of the interview. So the question is, what is actually the secret, or how to actually do it?
If you ask me, I wouldn't say that I progressed a lot, and the only reason I said that I progressed a lot is because everyone around me seems to say it. From the day that I started until today, I don't feel that I've reached a level where I can say that I'm a professional spearo or a professional spear fisherman, and I think that's one of the key aspects you require in order to progress in your sport. So whether I love taking new people on the boat, because even if someone dives, has a bottom time less than you, or is not able to dive as deep as you, they can teach you little things. Last weekend I learned that having a different colored or a white snorkel can attract fish to you. Or the week before that I learned that some people, they attach a small chum bag with squid in them, because squid is a very good attractor for pelagic fish, and that person is more successful than other people at catching pelagic fish, and that could be one of the reasons. You need to be in a place where you're always watching out to learn something new. And spearfishing is all about, it's a sport of inches, right? You learn one skill here, it brings you 2 seconds closer, to 2 seconds more comfortable. You streamline your body, you go down faster. You remove your snorkel before you take your duck dive. It makes you feel more comfortable. It might not add any time, but the act of you removing your snorkel means you don't have to remove it after you duck dive, which is one less step that you need to think about. And the less you think about, the more you hold your breath. So I would say, and I'm not saying that I'm good in any way, or or that I've reached a level where I'm comfortable. I think I'm more careful than most. I have a lung condition, and I take a lot of precautions before I go diving. I make sure to eat anti-inflammatory foods. I make sure to take my medication in time. I make sure that I take an anti-allergy, or I don't go outside if it's dusty a day or two before I go spearfishing. I make sure to have drink a lot of hot fluids and keep your sinus clear, because it's all these little things done collectively that allow you to be comfortable on the day. It's 90% preparation and 10% what you do on that day. At least that's what I feel.
You mentioned something quite interesting about the hot water and clearing your sinuses. I don't know if you've been sometimes actually listening to any podcast, but some time ago I was listening to a professor of biology and physiology, apparently from my country, from Poland, and he is also number 2 freediver in Poland. And he conducted a lot of studies, and basically he confirmed that if you go for actually any kind of depth that you're interested with, if you make a big contrast of the temperature before and after and during the water dive, then that makes the difference. So basically he was putting something hot on the top of his nose, and I believe maybe you heard that. So that would actually go along with this what you said, and yeah, in fact that helps a lot. So when I called you yesterday, you told me that you have a specific way of digestion the knowledge, or getting new knowledge from also watching YouTube and so on when you train. So tell me more, how does it look your day? How do you train actually throughout the day for your amazing spearfishing?
I would think that the number one source of information about freediving is practice. The number 2 source is the people around you. If you find someone more experienced than you, then you are lucky, and you are lucky enough to dive with that person. Be friendly with them, ask them questions, especially if they're people. And spearos, they love talking about themselves. They love talking about their dives. You just have to get them talking, and they will give you tips and advice that might have taken in a normal course of your experience freediving. It might have taken you a year, might have taken you 2 years to find out. And you have to understand that the person you're speaking to has been doing this for 20, 30 years. If they're telling you that, dive primarily on an empty stomach, they know what they're talking about. Don't take it for granted that they're sharing this piece of wisdom with you. And I think that's all I've done is I take these pieces of wisdom from the people I do, and whatever I want to learn for myself, I try and always go. I go on YouTube a lot, so I'm on YouTube every morning and every night, and I'm subscribed to many channels on YouTube. I have in order of importance to me, there's Daniel Mann, who is a person from the UK. He's a British diver, so he dives in the UK, and he's unbelievably informative with every video that he does, and he understands where a rookie might make a mistake and where an experienced spearo makes a mistake, and he covers everything from A to Z in terms of knots, how to change your rubbers, what type of spear gun to use, how to chase a certain type of pelagic. And again, all this information is of course biased because it's coming from the UK, but some of it can be applied to diving that you do wherever you are locally, so even here. Then I have the second influencer on YouTube, is Rob Allen. So Rob Allen, and again Rob Allen, he covers. I think Rob Allen is one of the core people that I'd like to go to, because when it comes to his gear, his advice, or what he's done, his experience comes from the bottom up, right? And his advice is always international. You can apply it to almost anything. The equipment. I'm again biased towards the equipment he uses, because they're the bare bones of what is required in spearfishing. You have a light gun, a shaft, a rubber. It's a very simplistic format. It breaks away from all the other complexities that you could have in spearfishing, and he really talks about he really breaks everything down to the raw basics. And the third person is Ryan Myers. So from each one of these 3 individuals, I've learned as much as I could without practicing. the best teacher is practice.
And I think we have a beautiful, beautiful, actually, very nice and safe environment here. But talking about the safety, throughout my interviews in the future, as I'm just starting the interviews, I would like actually to share also something more about the safety. And do you have any specific tips or something that you would like to share about the safety of spearfishing? I mean,
in my 1 year and 3 months of spearfishing, I dove with a lot of individuals, and unfortunately, safety is a thing. No matter how much it is talked about, is always overlooked. You get those individuals, 1 or 2 people who are all about safety, and they sort of are your benchmark for how you should act and react in the water. And then you have the other sort of people who know what safety is in theory, but don't practice it. And my biggest advice because I have a lung condition, I take safety very seriously, and I still tell you that I don't take it seriously enough. My rest intervals between dives are at least 3 times my dive time, and the general standard is 2 times your dive time, because it takes me longer to recuperate with my asthma, basically. You'd see me hiding an inhaler in my boot while I'm diving, and Robert is always looking at me like, "Is he okay?" And yeah, I'm pretty much okay. It's not a big condition. And the reason I come back to this is when I'm diving, I'm always alert to the fact of safety, to the fact that my dive buddy could go down and never come back up. and the only way I can explain, I mean, everyone knows what to do about safety. Everyone knows, yes, I shouldn't stay along outside my comfort time. I should always dive with a buddy. I need to keep my eyes on my buddy. My buddy needs to come up and give me the A-OK. Everyone knows that in practice, in theory, but in practice it's a completely different thing. And I would stress that you need to practice even before it becomes a thing. So when, for example, I dive with my buddy used to be my little brother. So he's my brother, so I take extra care of him. But you should always treat the person you're diving with like he's your younger brother. Like if you lose him, it would destroy your life. So I know the average time my younger brother stays down. So as soon as he goes down, I'm resting on the surface, I'm counting that watch. And as soon as he hits, or even 10 seconds before he hits his normal bottom time, I'm checking around to look for him. Because, and never ever in my opinion, push your limits unless you're in crystal clear water and your dive buddy is on the surface and he can see you down there, and he can, at any moment he can come get you, because blackouts happen while you're feeling good. Blackouts happen while you're feeling great. Blackouts happen when you're shooting good fish. Blackouts happen when you're having a lot of fun. They don't happen when you're being extra careful. They don't happen when, they can happen anytime actually. Never, they can really happen anytime. And the issue with blackouts is you can take all the safety precautions. You can do all the measures that you think is necessary. Your buddy can be perfect, and things can still go wrong. And we've had a couple of friends of ours black out in open water, and people, I don't say people black out frequently. I don't want to scare anyone away from spearfishing, but blacking out exists, and it exists because, and it happens because people get too comfortable. I know spearos who dive down to 35, 40 meters are one of the most careful people I've ever seen dive. They're more careful than people are diving 10 meters, 15 meters, 12 meters. And the reason being is because the threat is real. You know, the threat is always real, whether you're on 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters. It's just, if you can somehow understand the steps you have to go through before you reach, and blacking out is not the only danger of being in the water, right? I would say it goes boats, blacking out, yourself, and then at the very bottom, maybe less than the sand, sharks and animals and other things. They're absolutely harmless, right? When I see a shark, it doesn't make me afraid or scared. I want to go and try and touch it, you know, because because they're very friendly creatures. You know, we were once swimming in Fujairah, and about 3 or 4 2-meter, 2.5-meter blacktip sharks are circling us, and we were out there shooting dorados and mahi-mahis, and we stayed in that spot for another 2.5 hours because, like, why not? Like, we're catching fish. They were not really coming towards us. I mean, every half an hour they were coming a bit closer because they felt, you know, maybe we're not a threat. And after that, when one tried to attack one of our fish, we said, okay, then maybe they're getting a little bit too friendly, and we picked ourselves up and go. But just to summarize, safety in the water is always, you have to always think about it. It has to always be on your mind. You have to treat every situation as if the next moment something can go wrong, because it can.
Like, I used to actually surf here as well in Dubai, bodyboard, and that was more of those beaches. So one time I was almost hit, you know, because the waves were huge and the guy was.
Well, these people are absolutely dangerous. Yeah. I was diving on Deira Palm, the edges of Deira Palm.
Same here.
And there's 60 of them come out at the same time, right? And you're just diving down, dodging them. When you're coming up, you're looking at just to make sure you can hear their sound while you're down. But no, I like that. I dove Deira Palm once or twice. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful diving spot. I wish to dive there more. But I'm so engrossed in Fujairah right now, because we pretty much know all of Dubai. I mean, almost every single wreck, spot, seasonality, where fish are going to be when, we know it. So it's a little bit, I wouldn't say boring, but we know what to expect when we go to each and every spot. In Fujairah, things are quite interesting. You know, you go there one day, you see whale sharks. You swim in the shallows, you see a marlin. I saw 60 kg black marlin while I was swimming into 16 meters of water. So black marlins are usually open water fish, and this was a 60 kg black marlin in 16 meters of water. I had a gun. I had a 100 centimeter roller with a 60 meter line with no belt reel, no buoy attached to it, and I had a tail shot, and there's no way I was going to make a headshot. So obviously, you know, it's spearfishing. If you have a bad shot, you have a choice whether you're spearfishing versus fishing. So I didn't take the shot because, you know, even if I landed the shot, your gun, your gear, your arm, your whatever you have wrapped around your line, that's gone with it. So, and that's just a few things we see in Fujairah. We see sharks, stingrays, turtles. I mean, even if we shoot no fish that day, it was a beautiful experience anyway. You know, I just last weekend I swam down. The visibility was bad, and a turtle swam up right next to me and sat down next to me, and I was able to interact with it. And it's a very few places. And if you go scuba diving and do the same thing, you'll never get that chance to really interact with the living. With the life in the destination, because you have a scuba tank and you've got the bubbles, and it scares the fish around you. So you don't really have that connection to the environment, while in spearfishing you do. Yeah, I'm telling you.
That's a good story.
You're sitting in the air. No, I have many stories. But this is one of the initial stories when I started freediving.
Uh-huh.
There are many more after I already learned the sport. 3 months ago I rode a whale shark. We were in Fujairah, and I was diving with my open water with my little brother. I saw this huge mass come out of the blue, right? Like a building coming towards you. And I thought, what the hell is that? And I recognize a whale shark, so I turn around, I look at my brother, I tell him, listen, don't panic, it's just a whale shark. Uh-huh. And it came towards us, and from far away I recognize that it's not shaped like the whale sharks that I know and you see on National Geographic, you know? The head is much bigger than the body, the tail is very thin compared to the head. For people starting off wanting to spearfish, I'd recommend first, you know, spend time in the water. The more time you spend in the water, the more comfortable you're going to get. The more comfortable you're going to get, the more relaxed you're going to be, the more you're going to, you know, soak in the information from your freediving course, which is number 2. You should do a freediving course. I unfortunately have not done a freediving course, but even if even if you believe, and I don't believe that, I believe there is some things I can learn in the freediving course. Even if you believe you cannot learn anything in the freediving course, having a freediving course gives you that assurance that you have done something accredited, gives you that confidence to, and it's all about confidence. Spearfishing is all about, freediving is all about confidence. And number 3, find someone that you trust completely and that they trust you completely, and make that person your dive buddy, because there's no, when you're in the water, at least, when you're in the water, there's no person more important than your dive buddy, right? I almost got married people in trouble there, but so make sure, so again, number 1, time in the water. Get a snorkel, get a pair of fins, go to your beach, spend time in the water. You know, go touch jellyfish or pick up sea urchins, you know. If you're completely new, then do that. Second is a freediving course. And third is your community, and especially your dive buddy. Make sure that your dive buddy is someone consistent, someone that is always with you, and someone you can trust. Because it's not easy to trust someone in the water. And unless you can trust your dive buddy, your performance underwater is going to be hindered.
Can I take a picture?
Yes, of course.
Take a picture because later on I'll forget, and the light is great. What do you think about this?
I love it. I thought we were sitting there.
We can later on. Why not? Oh, Sheikh is coming. Whoever is coming.
He's going to his spot.
I got you.
That's how he does it. That's how he goes to his spot. Yeah, he doesn't.
They drop him.
Yeah, then they drop him. He does 2-3 hours, then he comes back helicopter again.
So that was 27 minutes of the interview with Majed. I hope you like it. After a week you're going to see the second part, and he's going to talk about asthma, he's going to talk about the licensing, he's going to talk about the preparation to the trips, and that's it. Take care. So that's our Instagram handle. You will definitely have some good updates about this, what's going on. The Facebook group, UAE Active Spearo, which is purely for actually everybody who wishes to share the videos and posting pictures from any kind of spearfishing actions here in the UAE.